Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, is a 1999 film directed by Jay Roach, starring Mike Myers, Heather Graham, Seth Green, Robert Wagner, Michael York, and Vern Troyer. Now, I mentioned how much I just loved the first Austin Powers film. This one isn't quite as good, but it comes decently close, like close enough to being as good as the first. Like I wasn't expecting anything to be totally like off the charts with this, but it comes close to meeting the standards of the first one. In fact, there's also a fun fact about this. I was 4 years old when this came out back in 1999, and I want to say that this was probably the first film I ever saw in theaters. Of course, my family would rent films a lot in like before I was four, but yeah, I want to say it was either Austin Powers 2, Star Wars: Phantom Menace, or the first Pokemon movie that I saw in theaters. Where it was one of those three films that was the first one that I saw in theaters. So yeah, this film right here has a special place in my heart, even though I don't think it's as good as the first one. But whatever. So Austin Powers 2 is it deals more with the James Bond things because the whole point of this is to spoof James Bond, and what they do is they try to incorporate as many things in this as they can that they didn't quite include in the first one, and that's okay. And of course, this movie is able to keep its own identity, which is also really good. And Mike Myers, he's just so good playing. Like in the first Austin Powers, he plays just Austin Powers and Doctor Evil. Well, in this one, he plays Austin Powers Doctor Evil, and this new character who's a villain named Fat Bastard, a Scottish obese um, assassin. So yeah, what's really good about Mike Myers playing all these characters is you can barely even recognize that it's him, and that's really good. He's like trying to channel his inner Peter Sellers because when Peter Sellers did Doctor Strangelove in 1964, he played three different characters. Could barely even recognize that it was him playing all those characters. And in Austin Powers 2, similar story. Now, the movie does have a few flaws that I really couldn't, that really keep it from being up to par with the first one. The first major notable one is now there may be spoilers in this. At the very beginning of the film, it turns out that Vanessa Kensington, who's played by Elizabeth Hurley from the first one, was a fembot all along. Fembot being um, extremely sexy, robotic women that are created to kill Austin. Yeah, I never believed that. It seems like something that was so done on the whim, and it contradicts so many key plot points of the first film that's not even funny. Yeah, I thought just a big, that was just a big blow on like, if they would have done something different with the outing of Vanessa, because Austin has to have lots of love interests like Bond does. It would have been better if it made it out like she was not a fembot all along. But anyway, um, so what's this movie actually about? Austin is he's doing fine after finding out that Vanessa has been a fembot, and so Doctor Evil decides to create a time machine. He wants to go back to 1969, 2 years after Austin got cryogenically frozen. Hire Fat Bastard to steal his mojo, And yeah, that way, if Doctor Evil has his mojo, then Austin wouldn't be able to destroy him. And also, um, Doctor Evil wants to turn the moon into his new assassin base. So yeah, Scott's in this too. It's played by Seth Green, and so he even says, why don't you just travel back in time, kill Austin when he's sitting on the crapper or something? Yeah, it's a really funny lines like that that really give this its juice. And they also clone Doctor Evil, but he turns out to be a small person, and that small person is played by Vern Troyer. Yeah, it's really funny the way that just about everything happens in this. And yeah, despite some continuity errors, and this movie it does try to be as good as the first, but I don't think it quite achieves that. Just because the first one was pretty much lightning in a bottle. This one right here, it comes close. So I'm going to give Austin Powers 2, The Spy Who Shagged Me, 3.5 stars out of 4.